Because I can tell you this. There'll come a time in your life when your faith will meet reality. And if your faith is not lined up with the Word of God, it'll fail you. And then where are you? You're left reeling. 25 weeks in, we find out the little girl we were excited about having has multiple abnormalities. Hands fused. Hole in the heart. Cleft palate. Clover-shaped skull. So basically, here we are, 25 weeks in. We've just gotten to, I felt God calling me to go to seminary. I wanted to get my master's degree. Here we go. God opened up the door. Annika got a good job working at Church of God World Missions. We had insurance. She wanted to have a baby. I said, all right, here we go. Here we are excited about our first child. Man, we're going to have a 2-year-old when I graduate seminary. We're excited, ready to have a good time. And at 25 weeks in, those dreams and those hopes were basically shattered. She had a disease called, or syndrome called Pfeiffer type 2 syndrome. Pfeiffer type 2 at T.C. Thompson in Chattanooga had never been seen before. In fact, I think her syndrome was, if I get this right, somewhere around 138, 137 ever reported medically. The last one that we could find was down in Brazil, and it was 5 years before Abigail was born. So this was a rare syndrome. However, can I tell you something? God wasn't surprised. He wasn't shocked. Because can I tell you something? He had us exactly smack dab right in the middle of where we needed to be. The very surgeon that we needed for the craniofacial surgeries that she would have to have, had she lived, was guess what? Right in Chattanooga. Dr. Sargent. The top children's hospital in this area, right in Chattanooga. The very people we needed to get in contact with to help us do certain things, right in Chattanooga. Even to the point, I was telling them at lunch today, we had sold a truck that we had. We had bought this, we had this old car that I drove, and then we sold a new truck that I had, bought me an old truck so that we wouldn't have any payment when we went to school, so that we could make the cuts that we needed to make so that we could live on as limited budget as we could. We didn't even have a car capable of bringing our child home. Do you know what? She was born. They didn't think she would survive the delivery. She did. In fact, she pulled the tube out of her mouth that was helping her breathe, and she started breathing on her own. No problem. That was a miracle. Because for us, we didn't even think we'd get that far. We were able to bring her home. And at the time, it was 2003 that she was born. The church I was at, where I was part-time as youth pastor and associate pastor, they came together and bought us a 2001 car so that we could have a nice car to bring our child home. Guys, God was not lost. God knew exactly where we were. Can I tell you something? He didn't take us out of the storm. He didn't take us out. The winds, the waves, the struggles, they were still there. There were little signals that He was right there with us. And you know, it is so easy to hear certain people. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's hard for me to watch some ministers on TV. They talk about healing, and that if you have enough faith, find healing. That is so not true. Because I'm going to tell you enough, I had enough faith that whether God healed my daughter or not, we decided we were going to trust Him, no matter what. Because you know what, church? No matter what that listing of afflictions that Paul wrote, it wasn't to the point where God was going. God knew where we were. In whatever situation you're going through tonight, He knows where you are. Now that's not easy because, man, some of us want God to just come and be Santa Claus. We want to get out of it. And there's times I want Him that way too. Most of the time, that's not the way He comes again. It's normally in that still, small voice when we just step back, sober up, and look at the situation for what it is. And then we sense God, oh, so strong. I can tell you this. We were able to take her home, and she lived for 10 weeks. Now, granted, those are the busiest 10 weeks of our lives. Busiest 10 weeks of our lives. I basically had to drop out of seminary for the semester. Not basically, I did drop out of the seminary for the semester. There were numerous things that went on, and we were able at the end to bring her home, and she stayed with us for a week. We sent our family home. I sent my mom and dad. We sent her mom and dad home. And for the week that we had her there, we kept her there with us until right at the end, with hospice helping out, right at the end, we called her mother to come in because I think we went, 3 days in a cave with no sleep. After 72 hours, we both needed some rest. And she died, we went home on a Sunday. The following Monday week, she died in Anna Kay's arms with me right there with her. Our pastor and his wife were with us, who are still dear friends of ours. One of my seminary professors who watched his daughter die because of a drug overdose in the hospital was there with us. And her mother was with us at that point. Can I tell you something? In the midst of the pain, in the midst of death, God was there. Did God heal my child? No, not the way we wanted. She didn't come out healthy like Lydia did. She didn't come out that way. She didn't turn out that way at 10 weeks old. But I can tell you this. My trust is in the power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And the next time I see her, she'll be whole. She'll be complete. And the reason why it's that way is because He's going to wipe every tear from our eye. It won't matter. Do I miss her? Do I think about it every day? There's not a day that goes by that the affliction and the pain is not still there. The scar is still there. The wound is still there to some degree. But I trust God. Look with me on to verse 4. We're going to close in just a minute. Look at verse 16. This is where I really get a little more strength, a little more understanding. Therefore, I love therefores in Scripture. Because what happens is He's transitioning. He's not trying to discredit all the pain and the affliction that you're going through. He's just trying to say, hey,